Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this video, we're going to be looking at data warehouses, ETL, OLTP, and OLAP. So what are all these terminologies and what do they all mean? So if you are new to the channel, guys, welcome to the channel. This channel is called Code Print. So this is a series on MySQL and database analysis with MySQL. Okay, so anyone who wants to learn MySQL from the very basics, this tutorial starts from the very basics. So this tutorial, we're going to be looking at these terminologies in databases and how they can be used. So if you're new to the channel, please kindly consider subscribing to the YouTube channel, liking this video, and sharing this content with anyone who you think might find it helpful. Okay, so let's jump into what you're going to cover in today. So let's talk about data collection. So I'm going to use in this example. I'm going to be using a supermarket. Okay, using an example of supermarket to explain to you what's a warehouse, what's an OLTP, what's an OLAP, and all that. Okay, and what's an ETL and all that. Okay, so let's say that you are imagine you're in a supermarket, right? And in a supermarket you have a point of sales application or a POS, right? So if you buy something in the supermarket, there is scanned, the QR code is scanned, you make payments, and all that information is stored in a database. So the application is recording that, processing that information is called or point of sales application. Okay, so point of sales applications do the identification and then finally create a transaction with a database where they store all that information. Okay, so if you're working in a supermarket, the supermarket might have multiple databases. You might have one database just for products where they store the product information, like how much quantity is in stock, when last time a product was stocked, and all that information. We must have a payment database where you store the payment information of the purchasers, like this purchaser made this purchase on this date. This is a receipt number. This is how much he paid, and all that information. You might also have a customer database where you store the customer information, like the credit limits to the customer and all that, the amount of offers the customer has, the amount of discount he has, and all that. Okay, so that's basically a simple an example. Okay, so let's take a look at what a data catalog is. So that's just this part is just an introduction, right? Now you have an idea of what you're talking about: supermarket having multiple databases and a point of sales application, right? So now let's take a look at a data catalog. So let's imagine that you learn, maybe you finish this course, you learn other few things, and you got a job as a data analyst, right? So you got introduced to the supermarket. Now, you as a new employee have no idea of the technical infrastructure of the company or of the supermarket. So you might have multiple databases, right? As you as a data analyst, we are interested in these databases to query them for data. Now, you don't know how many databases they have, what each database contains, how many fields it has, what all the fields mean. You don't have all this information, right? So sometimes companies have documents which are called data catalogs. So these data catalogs could be simple documents like Excel files or simple Word documents, just simply describing their their data infrastructure, like how many databases they have, what each database contains, what are the fields in each database, what do they mean, and all that. You can find all that information in the data catalog. So if as a new employee, nobody has to sit you down and explain to you all the database infrastructure, right? That could be very boring and you can't memorize everything, right? So having a data catalog is a good idea. So you just have to refer the data catalog whenever you're writing your queries so that you know what data you're pulling and for what purpose, right? So you don't be confused with the company's data infrastructure. So what's a warehouse? So sometimes let's say that you got a job as a data analyst and you're working in the company and you have a list of all the databases from the database catalog. Now you know which database to query, so you start querying the databases. Now you're running let's say that you're running a very huge query to pull out millions or thousands of records from the databases. So this can slow down the database. Let's imagine that the point of sales applications are using the same database that you're running the query on. Then this could make the point of sales applications in the supermarket very slow. So nobody in the supermarkets would want to be waiting in long line queues to purchase a product, because simply a database in the background, a data analyst in the background is running huge queries pulling out millions of records from the same database that the point of sales application is working on. So you really don't want this, right? You want your data, the point of sales application, to be fast as possible so that the line in the supermarket can be keep on moving as fast as possible. So you as a data analyst, you don't want to be running your huge queries on a live database that is used by the same point of sales application, right? So what's the solution to this? And that is the point where we talk about a database warehouse. Okay, so instead of having you running queries on the actual database that the point of sales applications are using, why don't we create for you a replica of the same database so that you can run your queries on your own personal database as a data analyst, not like your own personal, but for like different from the live ones, right? But has the same the same information as the live ones. So how do we do that? Well, simply create for you another database and you pull all the information from the live databases into the database warehouse, like the database that the data analyst will be querying. We call it a data warehouse where we store all junk or all data information, like all the any information we grab from the live database. We can just store them in the data warehouse, and data analyst can go there and query the different tables and database in the data warehouse. So again, you might think, okay, so if you're querying the same information from the live databases, will this not give us the same issue? Because basically we'll still be running thousands of queries on the live databases that the point of source applications use. So it doesn't do any difference, because the only difference is that maybe a program is running the same queries rather than a data analyst running the same queries. So it doesn't do any difference, right? Well, it's different. They do it in a smarter way. So let's say that in a supermarket, right, around midnight hours, the supermarket is probably closed, or even if it's open, there are few people in the supermarket. So there are less transactions being run in the on the point of source applications to the database itself. So that time the traffic to the database is slow, right? So the live database is slow. So at that time you can study the supermarket, and then at that time data engineers, right? We'll talk about data engineers just in a second. At that time you can run your queries and pull the information from the live servers, from the live databases to your database warehouse, when at periods where the live databases are not heavily being queried by point of source application, like they're basically the supermarket is closed, or there are few customers at that specific point of the day. So you load the data into your database warehouse. So the process of loading the data into your data warehouse from the live databases that is used by the POS applications is called ETL, right? So what does ETL stands for? So ETL stands for transact, load, and transform. So you run a transaction in the live databases, you load the data into the you transform the data. Basically, you create new derived columns, you create aggregation of columns, because you don't want, like, a data analyst is not interested in the day to day or minute to minute or second to second transaction in a supermarket. In a supermarket, is more interested in maybe the daily sales, right? On this day, this total amount of sales were made, this is total amount of income. That's what he's interested in. So he wants an an aggregated version of the live database that are used by the point of source application. Okay, so you extract them, you load them, you transform them by performing like aggregates on them, and then you load them into the database warehouse. So that is called ETL. ETL, like extract the data from there, you transform it by performing maybe, for example, the sales column. You perform an aggregate to find the total sales that were made within that specific date, right? Rather than having each individual sales by minutes, by second. You don't want that. You just want the whole sales made by that in that specific date, right? That specific date. Okay. So that is, we do the transformation, and then you load it into your database warehouse. So it's called ETL. ETL. So who does ETL? And ETL is done by a data engineer. So a data engineer does the ETL and then gives the data to so basically stores the data in the data warehouse, and the data analyst is now, or data analyst or data scientists are able to access the data warehouse, whereby is not affecting the point of source applications that are system critical, like critical applications. Like if you're a supermarket, one of your critical application or critical infrastructure is a point of source application. So you don't want to mess with the critical infrastructure, right? So that's basically why we have a warehouse. You don't want to mess with the critical infrastructure, which is a point of source application that involves the live databases. Okay. So you put the data in form of a data warehouse, and that is done by engineers. So ETL process is done by ETL is done by a data engineer. So data engineer loads the data, extracts the data from the live databases, transforms the data, like perform aggregates with a new column and stuff like that. So it can be easy to analyze for the data analyst or data engineer that are going to be building machine learning models and stuff like that, engineering reports. And then finally, we load the data into the data warehouse that data scientists or data engineers can use. So data scientist is mostly interested in building machine learning models, and data analysis is like generating reports and other stuff like that, financial reports and stuff like that. Okay, so that's the difference between OTLP and OLAP. Okay, so Oh, okay. So let me just now explain to you what OTLP and OLAP means. So I didn't mention that. So OTLP stands for online transaction processes, and every process that occurs between the point of sales applications and the databases is an online transaction process, because this is online and it's a transaction process in the point of sales applications and the the databases. So these are just transaction, right? So if you ever will look at fact tables, you understand what a fact tables and all that means. So we are performing transactions that are like frequently updated, right? So that is called an online transaction processes. And you have OLAP, right? Online transaction and all online analysis processing, right? You're analyzing the data. So OLAP is performed between the data analyst or data scientist in the database warehouse. That's called OLAP. And then OLTP is performed online transaction process is performed between the point of source application and the database, the live databases, basically. So that's the difference between OLAP and OLTP. So they are not to mess with the critical infrastructure of the business, having the live database is separated from the database warehouse. We have these two concepts of OLTP, which is for critical systems, and then OLAP for data analysis processes. So that's the difference between OLTP and OLAP. Okay, so we have the difference between OLTP and OLAP, and ETL stands for extract, transform, and load. You extract the data from the live database, like the transactional databases. You perform some transactions on them, and then finally you load them into the database warehouse, where the data analysts are able to perform their different queries on it, or build the machine learning models to be used in the business. Yeah, so that's basically the difference between OLAP, OLTP, data warehouses, and data catalogs, right? So we have look at all that information. So that's all for this video. Again, if you like this video and you want to support the channel, the easiest way you can do is simply like a video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, share this video with anyone who you think might find it helpful. If you want to go further and help me more, you can buy me coffee. The links will be in the description of the video. So thanks for watching. See you in the next one, and keep safe.